What a Sunday it's been in the world of footy. Drama, injuries, comebacks, chaos, and clarity, all wrapped into one wild afternoon that shook the landscape of AFL Round 18. Sydney came into Docklands with everything to lose. Their season, hanging by a thread. Their finals hopes, flickering. Their belief, tested. But when it mattered most, the Swans found something deep within. St Kilda gave them hell. 4 quarters of suffocating pressure, contested ball after contested ball, and a defensive wall that wouldn't yield. For 3.5 quarters, it worked. But the Swans were never going to go quietly. Not when the season was on the line. Not when every passage, every turnover, every mark could be the difference between September action or watching from the sidelines. The final term belonged to Sydney. 5 goals to 2. A burst of energy that came from somewhere between desperation and destiny. And when the final siren rang out through Docklands, it was the Swans, just barely, who were still breathing in the finals race. A 5-point win. Not pretty, not polished, but absolutely precious. And yet, victory came at a cost. Tom McCartin, a pillar in the backline, took a hit in an aerial contest, high and heavy. Max Heath, the Saints debutant, was the one involved. McCartin, no stranger to concussions, walked off bloodied, the cut above his eye just a symbol of the concern echoing around the Swans camp. He never returned, and the Swans now wait, not just on his diagnosis, but on the tribunal's take. What happens next could shape more than just Sydney's backline, it could impact the rest of their campaign. St Kilda wasn't spared either. Dan Butler, ever so dangerous, was subbed out with a dislocated elbow. Another body down in a season that's turned into a war of attrition. And still, for all their pressure, for all their effort, the Saints walked away empty-handed. Finals hopes. They've taken a serious dent. A cruel loss in a season of what-ifs. Meanwhile, in Adelaide, the power flickered early. For a moment, it looked like the Eagles might soar. 25 points down after the first quarter, Port looked stunned. Slow, vulnerable, but then they remembered who they were. The third quarter was the response. The final quarter. The exclamation mark. 5 goals to none. The kind of domination that reminds the league why Port Adelaide is not to be doubted. They didn't just come back. They stormed back, and by full time, the 26-point victory felt like a statement. Yet even the victors weren't spared by the injury gods. Captain Connor Rozee, ever the heartbeat of the power, was subbed off with a dislocated finger. Minor, perhaps, but fingers can be fickle. Finals are near, and every body counts now. Then, there was Melbourne. The Demons had forgotten how to win. 5 straight losses. Confidence shaken, structure frayed, hope thinning. North Melbourne arrived at the MCG with little to lose and even less expected. But Melbourne needed this. Not wanted, needed. They came out like a team that had grown tired of questions. Of doubts. Of headlines. They put the foot down early and never let up. A 36-point win. It wasn't just relief, it was a reminder. Melbourne can still play. Melbourne can still believe. It won't answer all the critics. But it halts the bleeding. It resets the mindset. It gives them something to hold on to. North, brave as ever, just didn't have the legs. But they showed fight, flashes, and enough to remind everyone that their future isn't barren, it's just still under construction. But Sunday didn't just end with sirens. It now turns to reviews. Tristan Xerri's hit on Tom Sparrow is in the spotlight. The Kangaroos' ruckman could be facing time on the sidelines, depending on what the match review panel decides. It was one of those collisions that happens in the blink of an eye but leaves consequences lingering for days. A bump, a body, a judgment to come. These aren't just moments anymore, they're moments with ripple effects. Xerri's availability, Sparrow's welfare, North's midfield rotation, and just like that, round 18 is in the books. It ends not with clarity, but with more questions. Can the Swans ride this momentum? Or will the cost of the win be too much? Can Port Adelaide push through without Rozee if needed? Is this the start of their final sprint? Can Melbourne turn one win into a streak and re-establish themselves? And who falls under the match review microscope next? Thursday looms now like a doorway. Essendon and GWS at Docklands to start round 19. A game with top 8 ramifications. A game that kicks off the final run-in. A game that will separate contenders from dreamers. The finals aren't here yet, but they're close enough to taste. And for the Swans, Sunday tasted like survival. For the Saints, it tasted like heartbreak. For Port, it was a feast. And for Melbourne, it was a long overdue sip of belief. The stakes are rising. The bodies are breaking. The stories are writing themselves. And we're not done yet. This is the sprint to September. This is AFL. And it's getting real now.